Right. Well, today at Solus Partners, we're really excited to introduce Tommy of Graceful Management Systems. They have a very unique solution when it comes to the construction industry and just general project planning. So, Tommy, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and the story of Graceful Management Systems?
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having us, Stephen.
Thanks for coming on.
Pleasure is mine. So, a little bit of background. I think it's similar to probably a lot of your listeners here on this podcast is as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, we're always trying to optimize operations. So, my background starting with opening a mortgage franchise, it's not similar to opening a franchise for like McDonald's or some sort of a fast food chain or an already established business. You actually had to write your own processes and procedures. You had to hire, train, fire. Ultimately, you were responsible for the outcome. It wasn't a plug and play business. It was a great experience. Learned how to duplicate myself, figure out where it is that we're losing money, where it is that we need to focus our efforts. And as I applied these efforts and grew the business, at one point the bottom of the real estate market fell out early 2000s, and one of my customers who owned a construction company said, hey, I'd like you to apply some of those optimization techniques to my business. So I don't have a lot of construction background, but it's not too difficult to learn how businesses operate, how the customer flows from start to finish, who within the organization does what, and ultimately start proceduralizing that and figuring out a way to duplicate that, identify where it is that we're losing cash, how it is that we can optimize the business. Now, the construction industry, while it has a wide variety of technology available to them to aid in this process, unfortunately, this is an industry that doesn't have a consistent format of data capture. And as a result, it's kind of like the wild, wild west where projects are all being estimated differently. They're all being produced differently. And as a result, the technology can really do a lot of capturing for you and show you where it is that you're at, but it's unable to learn from a lot of that due to the lack of consistency, not only across the industry, but even within any one organization. And so as I realized that and started looking for technology that would provide us that kind of structure and backbone so we can get these types of optimized outputs, I was shocked to find that there really isn't anything on the market, which led me in the pursuit of developing something for the industry. And ultimately, here we sit. We've since built a platform. We're currently in beta testing. And the key components that the GMS brings to the market is it's learning from our subscribing contractors' completed project data sets in order to help them more accurately estimate projects, both in cost as well as time. It's even learning from these completed Gantt charts what it is that the contractor should do on the next go around to more efficiently produce that project. And the cherry on top is this is a living and breathing thing where as people are clocking in and out and as tasks are being completed either on time, early, or late, maybe people don't even show up, our product or the GMS is continuously re-optimizing route, telling the contractor the most efficient way to move forward. And then on top of that, it's learning from these inputs or ultimately what's taking place in real time and factoring that in to make sure that the next estimate takes it into consideration so these companies don't have to pivot so frequently. And a lot of times these pivots, while it may bring a solution to the project that's being produced, actively being produced, in a lot of cases, it can actually start a fire in projects that are being produced simultaneously or scheduled next. So we're able to start minimizing that and allow these contractors to complete projects more efficiently, more profitably. Customers are more satisfied. And that's our goal.
I mean, that sounds like a fascinating data architecture. What led you guys to kind of adopt the design that you did relative to like legacy solutions out there? Like in terms of a contractor, what does that mean for their day-to-day?
So that's a good question. The legacy systems that are out there, mind you, these are phenomenal tools. They really did take the construction industry at least from one century into the next century. It's taken a little while from an adoption standpoint, and I can ultimately relate as an executive from the industry. What these systems have done is they've really digitized everything, moved it into the cloud, and allowed us access to this information specific to your role based anywhere at any time. And ultimately, you can upload it. It has improved communication, and it's a phenomenal tool. But it's really structured to be like a filing cabinet in the sky. And a filing cabinet does exactly what yours at home does, is it stores all of the information, and however it is that you want to organize it allows you to access that information as easily as your organizational system. The way that the GMS is engineered is a little differently in the sense that, for starters, we are capturing the information in a consistent format, not only across all projects within one of our subscribers, but we have that same structure across all of our subscribers. So we're starting to unify the way that we're capturing data, which allows us to actually provide a lot more accurate feedback with regards to pricing, scheduling opportunities, to help our subscribers accomplish their objectives, which is, again, a more efficient project production, more profitable projects, and a greater experience or a better experience for their customers. So the GMS is structured to capture the data in a consistent format, and then from that, it's able to actually use that information to tell you what it is that you should estimate projects for. It's able to use that information to tell you, hey, this person's done, this is the person who should be doing what's next. Or if somebody doesn't show up or something, again, finishes late or early, it re-optimizes and it calculates billions of options to determine, based on the resources that you have available to you, whether it's a W-2 employee or a 1099 subcontractor that you've developed a relationship with, that this is the most efficient way to move forward based on the real-time information that it's captured at that moment.
Fascinating. So, one of the benefits I could see then is if you're a contractor, your entire team is going to be on at least a better communication channel where people are going to be able to coordinate it in a real-time basis. Is that true?
No doubt. But I want to so the communication piece is available already with some of these legacy softwares. The difference with ours is it operates similar to a GPS. So me as an individual, I want to get from here, let's just say 3 hours south. So I put in a destination, and it maps out of all the roads that are available. This is the most efficient way for me to get from where I am to where I need to go. Now, a GPS doesn't just take into consideration my information to determine how long it's going to take me to get there. It's taking into consideration the real-time pace of traffic. And after I depart, there could be an accident that takes place. I can't visually see it. It's still hours ahead of me. But the GPS is able to calculate that because of this accident or this traffic jam, that the amount of time it's supposed to take me to get from where I am to where I'm going to go is in fact now longer. And it'll give me a notification. There's a slowdown. This is the additional time that you're going to have to prepare for as a result of the slowdown. But there's an alternative route. If you accept this alternative route, we can shrink that slowdown by X amount of time. And that's exactly what the GMS is doing, is everybody has their route or what it is that they're supposed to accomplish within a given project. And as they continue to click complete task, complete task, complete task, the GPS or the GMS's GPS is ultimately figuring out where is everybody in this process, and it's continuously re-optimizing routes. So even without communication, it's actually able to track from simple time clocking behaviors. This is now the most efficient way to move forward. So we can make sure that nobody's standing around. We're getting maximum use of our resources so that we can get this project line pushed as efficiently as possible, and ultimately eliminating the need for conversation and meetings is another way that we're able to increase the amount of production that's taking place in the field.
The foresight from your GMS sounds incredible. What does that mean for an employee that would be using the system?
Well, I think in an industry that's actually struggling to recruit and retain employees, and especially with a new generation that, while the trades require swinging hammers and a lot of manual labor, and ultimately they've been reluctant to embrace technology, we need to embrace the fact that this next generation, they don't let it leave their pocket. And now what we can do is we can put those two together so that when somebody shows up on the job site, instead of having to go to what's potentially an old grumpy foreman that's always unhappy and wants to share that unhappiness with you, you actually have that grumpy foreman in your pocket in the form of a digital platform that's telling you this is what it is that you're supposed to do. If you're green, you can actually click play, access a video that shows you how it is that you're supposed to do that step. So again, you don't have to pull somebody away from a task that they're doing in order to get trained on it, which could ultimately frustrate your supervisor even more. And as you complete each task, it's learning what it is that your proficiency with regards to how efficient it is. It may identify that, hey, every time this task is designated to Tommy, he's always underperforming versus his colleagues. And the next time that task needs to be completed, it may not get assigned to me ultimately because it isn't something that comes naturally to me. I may be a last resort. So don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean that it always won't be assigned to me, because it's going to go through several set of rules. First figuring out what needs to be done. Second, figuring out who can do it. Third, figuring out of who can do it, who's available, how much do they cost, how long do they take, what's the user or the supervisor's experience of working with that individual in order for it to make a final decision. But ultimately, as we're learning about the behaviors and the abilities of the users within the platform, that again allows us to go back and optimize these schedules in ways that traditionally or manually, if they even are possible, it would take a significant amount of time. And that's the exact opposite of what everybody's trying to accomplish in business.
That just sounds incredible. With, I guess, if you were a contractor, and maybe this is more geared towards your beta users, what are the contractors seeing as they're building those relationships with their project buyers and other groups? Like, how has that improved their lives or just communication?
Well, as you mentioned, we're currently beta testing. So while we are in the Google App Store and we are in the Apple App Store, and you can go ahead and log into the software if you've subscribed through our platform, the feedback that we're getting right now is just through our beta testers as well as their customers. So I can tell you that in order for us to bring a product like this to the market, we got a lot of funding, both from our market as well as their consumers. They're begging for this type of a product. Actually, it started with me begging for 5 minutes of their time to share with them what it is that we're developing. And once we made it past that gatekeeper, 2 hours later, these contractors are still talking to me saying, so this is possible? You actually have a software that works for me versus me having to work for the software. And as we continue to explain how the GMS is ultimately able to aid in duplicating them, helping them more efficiently do their job, the feedback is not only 9 out of 10 contractors has applied to use our beta release. And when I say applied, they didn't just put their name on a list. They actually had to fill out an application, share the demographics regarding their business. And additionally, we even had one of our beta testers, and we're offering beta testers testing for free. And they invested close to $250,000 to not only get to be one of the first users of the GMS, but ultimately be an owner of it and be able to reap some of the benefits of the reward of us bringing this product to the market. So I do also have homeowners all the time wishing that their contractors were using the GMS. So overall, the feedback has been extremely positive, but we're not reinventing the wheel. This is the same type of technologies that's being brought to different markets. Amazon is a great example. We already use the GPS analogy. So this is a technology that everybody's waiting for. It's just a matter of time before we capture the data necessary. First, train the industry to make sure we're capturing the correct data. And then the more people we get on the platform, the more powerful it becomes and the greater value it provides not only to our subscribing contractors, but the customers that they're serving.
I mean, that traction sounds incredible. And the fact that you have beta users that are not only believing in the product, but want to get inside the tent, so to speak, is just, very rarely do we hear that. So that's amazing. Could you tell us a little bit about the team that's behind the product at Graceful Management Systems?
Definitely. Actually, they are the product as far as I'm concerned. I hate being the face. I feel like it's unfair because everything that I've just described to you couldn't be built by me alone. It takes a team. As a matter of fact, a lot of the technology that I'm proud to boast about wasn't even a part of the original vision. It was as the product got into development. We like to say that all of our developers are ultimately engineers, and they're bringing more value as our team has grown than I've been able to bring individually, or that any of us are able to bring individually. So we currently have over 20 full-time coding engineer, UI experts, and developers. And we also have a partnership with a university, Coronia University, where we actually have 10 interns as well as their professor that's working on the development of the artificial intelligence component. It's a part of their coursework. It's not something that they do in the evening or something that they do in their free time. Their course load was actually built around it, and their grades are actually dependent on the development of our technology. And they have professors that are guiding them through this process that are working very closely with our lead engineers.
Well, it sounds like you guys have a mix of great experience with also some young energy. So that's a really cool combination.
It is pretty amazing. And I'll tell you, this young engineering, like a lot of people don't realize that artificial intelligence, it's a totally different development than a lot of the traditional softwares that we're all accustomed to. What's tricky about it is they all have a similar user interface, but they're powered totally differently. The older technology, it's kind of if-then type statements, and you're able to get automations, but it isn't able to self-correct itself. It isn't able to learn from itself. It follows a very simple rule-based process. And this new technology, it actually has the ability to think. It has the ability to change. It has the ability to learn. And these younger minds, they are running circles around some of the people who've been developing these types of softwares or the legacy softwares for 20, 30 years. These new guys are running circles around them. It's pretty cool to bring those two together because they're both lifting each other up to make sure that things are founded on solid architecture, and while at the same time where we're able to bring a whole new experience that people have yet to realize. I know ChatGPT has kind of pulled the veil or torn the veil a little bit, but we haven't truly seen yet what AI is going to be able to do for our society, and I'm super excited. It's definitely ushering in the fourth industrial revolution, and we'll be seeing that over the next decade.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you guys are well positioned for that trend, and your momentum is undeniable. Where do you see Graceful Management Systems going over the next year or so?
You know, that's an easy question for me to answer, but I'm a simpleton. I try not to think too big, which the foundation of this whole thing and the whole reason that I'm sitting here before you comes really from an empathetic heart. As an executive in the industry, I was blessed with an opportunity to work alongside leaders in the industry, employees that were ultimately helping these leaders bring products to a market that consumers were demanding. And I also got to work closely with those consumers. And there's a lot of people in that cycle. And this is an underappreciated industry. It's got the second most complaints in the United States. And I will say rightfully so. But it isn't because the industry doesn't care. It's because the industry has been tasked to do something that's almost impossible. There isn't a single construction project that's exactly the same as another construction project, and we're expecting them to estimate things accurately. We're expecting timelines to end the way that they should, and these are reasonable expectations. We as consumers, you can't go to a store and you see this is the price for an item, go check out, and it's a totally different price. And could you imagine if they held the item and say, we're not going to give it to you yet, we're going to give it to you a few days from now. So these are reasonable expectations. Unfortunately, because this industry is navigating so many moving parts that are all interdependent, and a lot of these things are outside of their control, it makes estimating and scheduling virtually impossible. Now, with the ability to capture data in a consistent format and start learning over time, we will be able to improve that accuracy. And I've kind of gone down a little bit of a rabbit trail, but it actually all ties in together. It's both knowing the owners that put their reputations as well as, their assets at risk to be able to provide these services, the employees that leave their families to come alongside these owners to provide these services. And then you've got the consumer, where they're all pretty dissatisfied with their experience in any one of those seats. And nobody goes to work to walk away feeling discouraged. Nobody goes to pay a contractor to walk away feeling disappointed. And nobody owns a business to walk away feeling like I did my best and my customers are still dissatisfied. And it's that point that I try to stay focused on as far as what is GMS doing and where is it that we're going. And even though I have a lot of responsibilities as I lead this company, I actually want to always stay in one place, and it's working alongside our users to make sure that the owners of these construction companies are able to provide their employees with a platform that allows them to enjoy their job, have reasonable expectations, learn from how it is that we can set goals to help everybody grow accordingly, and ultimately walk away with providing the customer with exactly what it is that they expected. Now, that's not to say surprises won't arise, but we can forecast them. We can tell you that within this percentage of probability, once you tear that down, here's what you're going to find behind it. And the cost to cure is this. We don't want to wait until you're already have everything torn apart and now you're learning that there's going to be an additional expense. We want to get that information to people ahead of time. We want to make sure that the owners of these construction companies don't end up paying for things that they weren't able to foresee. And we want to make sure that the employees that are leaving their families or even missing, baseball games with their kids, they're not coming home feeling down on themselves, even though they've done their best. And so that's where I'd like to stay. And that's not just next year, that's going to be the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that, until I'm not breathing anymore, until my wife says that's enough.
Sounds like you've got a great partner, great wife. And also I commend you on just your laser focus on just sticking with that core. I think that makes a lot of sense, especially in an industry that has so many different layered challenges. For folks and viewers and listeners that are interested to learn more, what's the best way that they can get in contact with you or just learn more about Graceful Management Systems?
Come to our website, thegms.com. There's a calendar link, which still links directly to my calendar, so you can find a time that works well for you. If you're in my area, I'm happy to do lunches and dinners. Otherwise, you can simply schedule a Zoom or a meeting with me. You can also get some basic information there. There's some videos on the website as well. And then you can email us if you want to email me directly. It's my first initial last name at thegms.com.
Well, Tommy, this has been a really fascinating insight into the whole construction dynamics as well as just GMS's ability to basically improve lives of customers, contractors, and anyone in the ecosystem.
Yes, and we appreciate you guys sharing this opportunity, not only with potential contractors, but the customers that they serve. So thanks for that, Stephen.
Absolutely. Happy to do it. Thank you for spending some time.
You got it. Looking forward to connecting with you again.
Absolutely.